Today we're talking about Sage 100, customer web portal and shipping. And I'm so pleased to have Starship with us today and Certapro. Raphael Avestesian, account executive, Certapro. Nick Young, senior ERP consultant with Certapro. They're going to be demonstrating the customer web portal for Sage 100. And Matt St. John, he's a senior sales executive over at Starship. And a little bit about the companies. We're going to start it off with Certapro today, talking about the Sage 100 customer web portal. Certapro is based in Los Angeles, and they are very well known for their solid integration with Magento and Sage 100. Their solution is powered by eLink. It's a two-way connector that handles data connection points for business partner portals for B2B and B2C e-commerce needs. So they have very strong integration with Sage 100. They're also a Magento technology partner, and they've been Sage certified for many, many, many years with a lot of development experience. They have the consultants and technicians on staff to handle your Sage 100 needs. They also have CPAs and software programs with over 20 years of experience. So a little bit about Starship. Starship was founded in 1987. They're a very mature solution. Started off with Microsoft Great Plains and Sage 100 years ago. So their solution has developed over time to accommodate the needs of many, many customers on Sage 100. They have very strong partnerships with dozens of parcel and LTL carriers like FedEx for parcel, USPS, UPS, OnTrack, and then LTL, DHL, Holland, T-Force Freight, previous UPS Freight, YRC, Old Dominion, and regional carriers like Pitt, Ohio. And they have an integration between not only Sage 100, Dynamics GP, as I said, Dynamics 365 BC, Sage 300, Acumatica, QuickBooks, SAP Business One, and Epicor. They also have integrations with e-commerce web stores like Amazon, eBay, Magento, Shopify, and WooCommerce. And so today we are going to kick it off with Certapro, and they're going to be talking, Raphael's going to be talking, and Nick, about their customer web portal integration with Sage 100. So I'm going to hand it off to Raphael to get us started.
Thank you very much, Adrian. Hi, everyone. I wanted to start by thanking everybody for providing us with an opportunity to present our eLink solution here today. My name is Raphael, and I'm the account executive here at Certapro. And I'm joined today by Nick Young, who is our eLink product manager, and he will take us through the integration and the product portion of the presentation. So a little bit about us. Well, we're a Sage partner, as Adrian mentioned. We're located in Los Angeles, California. We've been in business for over 10 years, and we specialize in integrating Sage ERP with Magento and WooCommerce platforms. We're a Sage-centric partner, which means we have a full team of consultants and developers in-house, and we can provide any custom solution that is required to meet our clients' needs. Our eLink solution is compatible with the following Sage 100, 300, 500, and X3. And now I'm very, very excited to announce that our eLink solution is also compatible with WooCommerce. It's the same great functionality you've come to expect with Adobe Commerce, only with WooCommerce and WordPress. Our eLink forms a two-way sync between Sage and WooCommerce. It handles all data connection points between Sage ERP and WooCommerce. Your Sage customer information can now be updated to your web store or portal 24/7, 365 days a year. Online orders can be created in Sage and be ready to be processed within minutes. This is all completed without running manual batch jobs or any manual export and import procedures. It's fully automated. The data securely flows between your Sage ERP and the web store in encrypted files, making your company's backend completely anonymous and secure. Because the web store is hosted outside of your Sage environment, the customer never has a direct access to Sage. And as I've mentioned prior, our differentiator is that eLink forms a deep integration between Sage and WooCommerce platform that allows customization in accordance with customers' needs. We have built out software for both sides of WooCommerce and Sage from the ground up, and doing so gives us the flexibility to create a plethora of modifications and customizations for your customers. We create and author everything in-house, and we only build these applications for Sage. We're Sage-centric, so this is all we do. Having an online store means you're open for business at all time. Now you can have an integrated e-commerce solution with your Sage ERP. Certapro's eLink software integration makes approachable and affordable for your business to have an online presence for both business to business and business to consumer models. So a little bit about eLink. So how does eLink work? eLink is actually two parts. One is an API that runs on top of the Sage server that allows us to talk to Sage using the Sage business objects. So with our eLink API, if you tell it to create an order, it will actually create the order as if you're tabbing through all the fields in Sage. It's not just putting data in the database. If you have any business logic built into Sage, we'll be following all of the same business logic with our eLink API. Now, I'm not going to go into the full detail with all the benefits with eLink. However, one that I really want to emphasize is it really reduces the under and oversells and makes inventory updates easy. Inventory information stored in Sage will flow into your e-commerce store so that will the product updates. This is also very important, and sometimes when you don't have enough stock and customers don't know about it, they can order and now you have to ship short. Maybe call and say it was out of order, or even worse, you do have stock, but your customers don't know about it because it hasn't been updated yet, and they go to your competition. And of course, this will reduce overall customer service phone calls, and it will reduce all the data errors and manual data entry as everything is automatic and syncs without any manual work. And it provides the customers with a single source for transaction information. Once again, everything your customer wants and needs will be in one place from start to finish. I also want to touch base on why we've decided to integrate with WooCommerce. Well, WooCommerce is an e-commerce plugin for WordPress. As everybody knows, WordPress is a free and open source content management system. It originally rose to popularity as a blogging tool in the 90s, and now has come to power more than 30% of websites on the internet in 2022. This includes 62% of the 100 fastest growing firms in the US, and more than 455 million sites run on WordPress. It's quite a market share. Companies love WordPress for its flexibility and how easy it is to use. WordPress makes it possible to build websites with little to no coding experience. Given its long-term popularity, there's a wide network of WordPress developers and a wide array of themes and plugins for users to choose from. WordPress uses very simple SEO-friendly code and has some built-in SEO tools to help companies rank well in online searches. And WordPress core is very secure because it is an open source. Its code is audited regularly by hundreds of developers. That means any bugs are identified and fixed very quickly. Updates are also easy. You wouldn't have to be worrying about, the updates harming your site or deleting any type of content. And there are some brands that use WordPress. Note the variety. We've got publishing companies, sports teams, universities, and etc. So without further ado, I would like to pass the mic to Nick and have him walk you through the technical portion of the presentation. Nick, if you can take over.
Okay, so we're going to just do a brief demo and go over some of the functionality that Ralph just talked about. We can do a more extended, in-depth demo directly with you if you reach out and schedule that later. So this is just a fresh copy of Magento. And again, everything you see here is also what you would see on WooCommerce. We just installed Magento, installed our extensions in Magento, and then installed our Sage integration enhancement in Sage as well. And then that wired everything up. So we bring information over from Sage. So in Sage, you can create a product. We bring that over to the web. We fill in, default information on the product, and then you can update it there. We bring over stock levels. We bring over pricing levels. So all of your pricing from Sage, customer pricing, quantity breaks, price levels, price codes, everything comes into Magento or WooCommerce. And then from there, the customer sees their actual calculated price depending on the customer number that's attached to their account here. So you don't have to worry about exporting pricing from Sage and putting it in Magento and dealing with, the difference in customers' pricing. So this works for B2B and B2C scenarios. I'm going to go ahead and just add a couple of products to a cart real quick so we can check out. And then we'll head over to our checkout and proceed. So when we get to the checkout, you'll notice that there's some addresses at the top already. Oh, an address in this case, but we do bring all of the address information over for the customer. So if you have a pre-existing relationship with this customer and you link their web account, they get automatically all of their existing addresses that are in Sage. You don't have to re-enter all that information online. We'll go ahead and check out. We had two payment methods with our solution. We have a credit card, which can use any of the integrated payment providers from Sage. So you have Paya, eBiz, Fortis, all of those. And then we have our Bill Me option, which is controlled by the Sage payment terms on the customer. So you control which terms are going to be credit card only and which ones allow for checking out on account, basically. And this option will either appear or disappear based on the actual logged in customer here. So again, for B2B uses, this allows your net accounts to actually be able to check out without a credit card. We can just put in a demo card very quickly. And check out. And we'll save this for later use, place our order. So we placed the order and we see we got a confirmation number or web order number. And we can go into the customer's account and you can see that's up here in pending orders. We're using what I call live syncing system. So this in the background is sending all the transactions and information that's changed since the last time we did a sync. So this order would be queued and then sent to Sage. So if your Sage isn't available for any particular reason, you're doing maintenance, your internet connection at the office where the Sage server is down, whatever reason Sage isn't available, the website stays up 99.999% of the time. Customers can still go online, they can still place orders, get their pricing, get invoices, print invoices, etc. They can even make payments on their account. So it's not dependent on Sage being available. As soon as Sage becomes available in the background, this is just going to start resyncing and all the information. So if I refresh this page, you'll see that order now is gone from pending orders. And now it's down here in the actual accepted sales orders. So this order has been exported to Sage and then re-imported into Magento with all the Sage information. So I have our actual Sage sales order number. And then if we go view the order details, these are the actual items that are on the order. If you make any changes in Sage, you can change quantities, pricing, actually add products or remove products, whatever you might do on the order. That would be synced back to Magento, and that would be reflected on the order screen for the customer. This doesn't matter about the origination of the transaction or even the items. So we can add items to the order in Sage that don't even exist on the web for ordering. And when the customer is looking at their order online, they can still see those items and see the complete view of what the order was and what's shipped and hasn't shipped. So we're not dependent on what's actually on the web to be able to show the order details. And if we look at the sales order screen again, you can see we even have a sales order from Sage that doesn't have a web order number. So again, we don't care about the origination. Customer service puts an order directly in Sage. Customer goes online, looks at their account. They can still see that order. They can still see the invoices, tracking numbers, everything that go along with that order, and they didn't even place it online. Normally I would go into Sage. I'll go into Sage and just show you this order just so we can show it exporting. We kind of are limited time today, so I'm not going to go do the whole invoicing process. I'll just show you another order that we've already invoiced just so you can see that. In the sales orders in Sage, we actually bring in that web order number as a field on the sales order as well. So if a customer calls in and they're looking at their confirmation email, which didn't have the Sage order number yet because Sage wasn't available at the time we placed the order, customer service can still look up the order by that confirmation number as well. You can see we did the credit card transaction. It's fully integrated. We did the pre-auth and checkout. It brings that transaction in with the sales order. So the post-auth happens the capture happens during the invoicing process, or you can come in and capture it here manually if you wanted to. All of the customer order details come from the web. We're using business objects like Ralph was telling you. So we put in the customer number, it loads the form with all the customer's defaults, and then we go and override the information we need to based on the actual order that was placed. So this is very much like entering the order directly in Sage. You don't have to worry about, if your customer, your sales rep has a commission amount and stuff like that. That is all going to come over and be calculated as you expect it to be. Once we invoice that order, then the invoice will go back. So I have an order from here that was from the web, and we have the invoice here. And if I look at the sales order again, at the bottom, I see all the invoices as well. Tracking numbers would be here too if I had put it on that invoice. So invoices, we also have an invoice view of the orders. So customers looking for specific items that they purchased in the past, or they want a particular invoice so they can view and print it, they can go to this invoice view as well. And that's the same thing as the orders. Doesn't matter the origination. We have some invoices that don't even have sales orders. They're just AR invoices that are entered in Sage. They still see those invoices in their account on the web. They can come and view and print them just like they normally would. The other thing I want to show you today is payments. So you have customers that check out on an account and they make payments to you. The payment screen, same thing. We have checks that were sent in. These were processed by customer service in Sage. Customer looks at their account online. They can see the checks they sent in, the invoices they paid, and the amounts that were paid on those invoices from the checks. But they also have the ability to come in and make a payment on their account. They can use those saved credit cards from the previous step. So if I check out, I save an account, credit card, I can use that later. I can also manage my payment methods later. And then even during making the payment, I can just add a new credit card if I want. If the processor supports ACH, you can also come in here and do an ACH payment as well. And this would just be brought in as a cash receipt with the ACH information as well. We'll go ahead and make a payment with this same check number. I can add from my open invoices. If you want to allow short payments, they can come in, they can actually type the amount that they want to pay on this particular payment. It's going to add the invoice, the payment amount, and then they can place this payment. Unlike the checkout, this is going to do a capture, so you don't have to worry about whether the funds are actually captured at the time the cash receipt comes in. This is going to then export this payment as a cash receipt. Again, all this credit card information is integrated with Sage, so it'll have the credit card on that cash receipt. And this is just like any other cash receipt you'd enter directly in Sage. So it'll come in as a new fresh batch, and then you can post it, and this would be applied to the customer's account. The one difference here in the sales orders is pending payments is going to include anything that's in batches that are not yet applied to the customer's account. So you haven't gone and done your end of day update, then the payments will stay in pending payments here because the balance on their account does not reflect this payment yet. So if they come in, they can quickly see, oh, I have pending payments that aren't in my balance. That's why my balance might be wrong. And if I refresh, you can see this did export to Sage. It then got the reference and the deposit number directly from Sage. So I have that information, and I can go and view the payment, which also comes from Sage. So this is a quick overview of the integration that we have. Again, this is all exactly the same screens and everything you would see on WooCommerce for the customer account also. If you want to see more features, we have multi-customer support where you can log in with one login and have multiple Sage customers attached to your account. We have custom product support where you can have basically company-specific products that only a customer or group of customers can see. We have our quick order entry form. We have a bunch of other extensions that we can show you in more detail if you want to schedule a direct one-on-one demo with us.
My name is Matt St. John, the Senior Sales Executive here at V Technologies for Starship, especially Starship with our integration to Sage 100. So I'm going to make this very brief. Again, if you'd like to schedule a follow-up call so we can get into a more depth one-on-one demo discovery to find out about your shipping needs, please feel free to reach out. But quick summary of Starship. So on my machine right now is the Starship program. We do offer two different formats of Starship. We have, of course, our on-prem version, and if anyone is interested, we do have a full-blown cloud version. Really, the look, feel, everything, functionality I'm showing you is the same between the two different versions, so really up to you. But again, we can discuss that on an in-depth call. With Starship, it also lives outside of Sage 100. So the nice thing with that, as a shipper, I could really just work inside of Starship. I don't need Sage installed on my workstation. I don't need, to be inside of Sage. So I can really just kind of work, live, and breathe inside the Starship program. Starship is multi-carrier, multi-mode, so we are also going to be able to process all our different type of shipments through Starship. So small parcel, LTL, international, third-party, blind ship, and so on and so forth. So if you are currently using like UPS World Ship, FedEx Ship Manager, or doing LTL shipments and you have a bunch of different carriers, with Starship, we could actually take those and you'll be able to do everything just through one user interface. So you don't have to call and reach out to each of the individual carriers to get things like rates. A lot of the carriers we have even support things like electronic pickup. Well, Starship will ping them and let them know that you have something ready to go. Right. Up top here is our source information. So these are just the different source documents we can pull from inside of Sage. Most customers use sales order. Of course, we could barcode and use just a regular wedge type plug and play scanner to scan in that number, have Starship automatically load it. As you see down below, we could also manually look this up. Now, with this integration between Sage, it is a live connection. So even though I'm not inside of Sage, this could be showing me all my sales orders that I have inside of Sage. I am applying a filter, but the nice thing with that is as the front office is adding sales orders or even making changes to existing ones, just know Starship would be picking that information up. Again, normally we could type in or scan in a sales order number. Starship would automatically load it. Starship does support features like group related. So in this scenario, I have my system set up where instead of just loading sales order 222, it's actually stopping and showing me that I have all these other sales orders that are technically going to the same ship to. So really, I could then quickly select all of them. And what Starship's going to do is simply consolidate them into one shipment. So you're not wasting time, wasting money, sending out individual shipments that are really going to the same ship to address. Right? So as you see here now, I selected an order. Starship's automatically brought in all the order header as well as line item detail information. The way we communicate with Sage, it is simple data mapping of fields. So we can really take any of the Starship fields and point those to Sage 100 standard fields, or if you want to use user-defined fields, we can do that as well. But really, we're going to set this up so as the shipper, the less things we have to click, type, touch, of course, the better. So, for example, here in this order, this is a blind drop shipment. Starship automatically knows to change the sender information from VTech to Tractor Supply. Here's my address information. We can also get into doing address validation. We do validate zip +4 as well as that residential commercial flag. So going to help save on those address correction and commercial flag correction fees. The transportation, just kind of drill into this. This is where we're just going to map in your ship via codes, and we're going to use those to tell Starship carrier, service, account, even billing account information. Here in this example, this is a third-party shipment. Starship's already automatically populated all that info for me. So as a shipper, I don't have to stop and fill out anything. Okay. Packaging, this is where we can get into the item box detail. So with Starship, you could add boxes in, or add items in boxes, add additional boxes. If you want to get into that level of detail, just know it's not a requirement, but if you wanted to, it is simple drag and drop. So as a shipper, I can grab multiple items, but it is simple, just grab items, drag and drop, and put those in the correct packages. Right? Packaging database, Starship has one of those where if you wanted to, you could set up your own different type of boxes, bags, bales, pallets, what have you. Also, anyone out there that's using a WMS system like a ScanCo, ScanForce, from the handheld device, you're going to be able to define all this information. So you can even just have this flow in from a WMS system, so you don't have to do it inside of Starship. Right. As you see here, my weights, I just have them mapped in from Sage, so it's automatically calculating weights. We also have, and we'll calculate dimensional weight. So Starship is always going to send out and rate shop at the correct dimensional weight. And actually, I just have to change this back to bill sender because we even do validate that billing account number when you do third-party type shipments. All right, so again, that's packaging. Down below here is where we're going to be able to see any of the carriers that Starship has integrations with, as well as, you know, that you have contract rates with. And it's a live call, so we're going to return things like business days, total days, ETA, published list charges. Contract is your live negotiated rate, and then applied is usually what we write back into Sage. That can also include plus or minus freight rules, so Starship can add, subtract. You know, maybe you want to add a handling fee, free shipping over X amount of dollars. Even the rate shopping, we can automate that as well. Do things like best way shipping, have Starship automatically, select the least expensive carrier, for example. But here I'm just going to quickly click ship and process. And at this time in a live environment, Starship is just going to generate our shipping documents. So in this case, it's going to PDF them. So it usually takes a moment for my machine to pop all those PDFs. But just know in your live environment, of course, shipping labels can go to, let me go back here. Shipping labels can go to your thermal printer or printers. We can tell Starship where each of the documents get generated. Packing lists can go to a thermal printer, a laser printer, PDF to a network share if you want to save it. And even with our documents, we can create custom ones and apply printing rules. So this one, for example, if you're doing blind drop shipments, Starship automatically knows to print this special packing list that has the customer or vendor's logo, maybe their account information. So we can even set those up in Starship as well. Box 1, box 2, here's my international information. So all my international documents, Starship can generate as well. Same thing if you're doing LTL, we can do bill lading, pallet labels. But with Starship, as you see, this was international. I don't have to stop. I didn't have to stop and fill out any of that required international data because I actually have it all set up inside of Starship's database. Right. But again, they're just going to click ship and process. It's immediately going to take the shipper right back to the main Starship screen where we can kind of rinse, repeat, go through that whole cycle again. And then, of course, right back inside of Sage, as soon as the shipper clicks ship and process, we're going to create the invoice. So an SO invoice data entry. Here's the invoice for sales order 222, and that will automatically be created. We can reverse things like ship via codes. Of course, we're going to drop the tracking information into the live Sage tracking tables. So you can even use their tracking function, item box detail function. You can see what was in each package. Also, because this information is going into these correct tables, if you're using a product like Certapro, they can just grab the data from here and reverse translate it up to your website, put it on the order. All right, so that's the tracking. Totals, we can write back, again, the freight amount. We could also do write back rules. So if the order came from a website, you don't want to charge the customer freight, we could set that up and Starship would not override that. And then, of course, in this field here, this is a user-defined field. Just so you know, Starship has a built-in write-back feature where we can take additional shipping information. So what I like to do is always send back my live negotiator rate with the carrier. That way, before someone updates the invoice, they can compare. And if you short yourself, they can quickly, come in here and change that freight amount. Okay. So that's really kind of a quick nutshell, that whole process of being able to ship your orders and getting that information pushed into pushed into Starship and then brought back into Sage. And then real quick, dashboard programs are included with our software. These do not require any additional user seats or licenses. So these are just a reporting tool. We have Can Crystal reports, but the one thing I do want to show you is our e-Notify program. So this program is going to allow you to create your own email templates. So if you wanted to, you could send out all the shipping information to your customers, tell them where it's going, maybe number of packages, ETAs, and even item box detail with hyperlink tracking information so they can click on the tracking number and be directed to the carrier's website. So hopefully they're not going to end up calling you to find out where their shipment is. All right. So again, real brief overview. I don't want to take up too much more time, but again, feel free to reach out to me if you have any additional questions.
Everybody enjoy the rest of your week and weekend coming up. Take care. Bye-bye.